Hanse, I'm Chris Nachkete. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of APTN National News Daytime. A headdress that has been worn by generations of leaders in a First Nation in southern Manitoba has been returned to the First Nation. The headdress was first worn by the former chief of Long Plain First Nation, Frank Merrick, between the 1920s and 1930s. It was then passed down to other chiefs, including Frank's son, Angus Merrick. Former Long Plain Chief Dennis Meaches then brought the headdress to the Fort Lorraine Museum in Portage-la-Prairie as a way to preserve it. Then, just last summer, a band counselor and grandson of Angus Merrick, along with the National Indigenous Residential School Museum of Canada, started the repatriation process. The family says they are thankful to have the headdress back, and Chief David Meaches called it the beginning of healing for the First Nation. The headdress will now be held at the Residential School Museum at the former site of the Portage-la-Prairie Residential School. A sexual assault lawsuit involving a former Manitoba and National Grand Chief has been dropped. In September, we reported that Phil Fontaine was accused of sexually assaulting a child on a school trip in the 1970s. The lawsuit brought forward by the alleged victim listed Fontaine and the Saugeen Education Authority as co-defendants. However, a new filing this week by the plaintiff discontinued the legal action, but didn't state a reason for the move. Fontaine did not file a statement of defense, and none of the claims were tested in court. A senior leader at the City of Vancouver is speaking out after choosing to part ways with the organization. For 3 years, she was the head of the Indigenous Relations Department, but says she can no longer compromise her integrity following a recent changes at the City Hall. CTV's Isabella Zavaris reports.
Michelle Bryant-Gravel was the City of Vancouver's first Senior Director of Indigenous Relations, spearheading work on reconciliation.
It's really activated all city departments to have a responsibility and accountability for reconciliation at the City of Vancouver.
And advancing the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. But it wasn't an easy road.
I knew it was going to be hard, and I knew what I was getting into, but I didn't know quite the extent I was getting into.
She almost quit in February when a leaked draft of a memo from the mayor's office included an idea to move Indigenous people on the downtown east side to their home communities.
Guidance from ancestors and creators said, hold the line, Michelle, you're doing good work, keep going.
That urge to leave only became stronger following Mayor Ken Sim and his ABC majority's push to freeze property taxes next year, resulting in millions in cuts to staff and city departments.
That was a big part of my decision to leave. It was integrity, my own personal integrity for the work that we do.
Bryant-Gravel says she worries whether the work she championed, building relationships between the city and the Musqueam, Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh nations, will continue.
The nations brought the City of Vancouver into the MST family, and that means something.
Chief Justin George of the Tsleil-Waututh Nation says he raises his hands in thanks to Bryant-Gravel's tremendous contributions. While Squamish Nation chairperson Wilson Williams adds, we sincerely hope the City of Vancouver continues to walk along this same path. The city says it's committed to advancing the work of UNDRIP and will hire a replacement in the coming months. For Bryant-Gravel, she hopes council will listen to staff and prioritize what's best for the city.
It's really about bringing the humanity back in, bringing the compassion back in, and leading from the heart and not just from a level of personal gain.
Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, Vancouver.
An Ottawapiskat youth and community member have filed a motion with the Superior Court of Justice in Toronto. They seek to intervene in the litigation by 9 First Nations in Ontario, challenging the legality of Ontario's Bill 5. Despite repeated calls for its repeal, Ontario continues its plans to develop the mineral-rich area in northern Ontario known as the Ring of Fire. Here's APTN's Annette Francis with that story.
Ramon Cataquapit has been attending rallies and speaking out against Bill 5 since it was first proposed last summer.
This is about the future of not only me, but the generations that are to come. Because I know that when my ancestors signed the treaty, They thought about the 7 generations forward. They thought about me. They thought about the youth of today. And that's up to us to carry that mantle again.
That's why Cataquapit and Michael Gustafson are seeking to be interveners in a court challenge filed last summer in the Ontario Superior Court of Justice. The challenge asks that Bill 5 be found unconstitutional. Bill 5 proposes special economic zones where the government can decide what environmental laws will or won't apply in order to speed up development. 3 First Nations in the area have signed agreements with Premier Doug Ford to build a road to the Ring of Fire.
It's a divide and conquer approach. You know, we live downstream. We're not part of the signing agreement to support the Ring of Fire with the Bill 5. So we're more concerned about the waterways, the peatlands, the carpet sink. You know, if we were to disturb that carpet sink, we're asking for trouble.
Lawyer Carrie Blaze says it's important for all parties to hear from grassroots.
And the perspective that we're going to bring forward in our arguments is one centered on reconciliation, on upholding Indigenous rights that we see in UNDRIP, and how that needed to play into the decisions the province made. So by lending that to the court, we're hoping to give them the basis they need to make a better, more just decision that respects Indigenous rights and nature's protection.
Blaze says there's no timeline for the courts to hear the case. In the meantime, Doug Ford is pushing to have shovels in the ground next summer to build a road to the Ring of Fire. Anna Francis, APTN National News, Ottawa.
And a major hearing will take place on this matter in an Ontario Superior Court in Toronto this Thursday and Friday. Ontario has brought forward a motion to end the First Nations case before any legal arguments can be made. 5 Treaty 9 First Nations will hold a press conference on Thursday ahead of the motion being heard. They say the case they have brought forward against Bill 5 is a historic case to end colonialism. An independent investigations unit has found no evidence that 2 Winnipeg police officers broke the law during the shooting death of a 24-year-old Inuit man, Jordan Charlie, in November of last year. Here's an update. According to the IIU, on November 24, 2024, 24-year-old Jordan Charlie was accused of shoplifting at the Walmart in the 3600 block of Portage Avenue. Police, who were already at the Walmart, followed Charlie to the nearby bus stop in the parking lot. When one officer attempted to arrest Charlie, the officer says Charlie punched him in the neck and then realized that he had instead been stabbed in the neck with a utility knife. Police say Charlie then pulled out a hatchet while still inside the bus stop. By then, 2 officers were commanding Charlie to drop both the knife and hatchet. However, Charlie instead walked towards the officers. The officers shot Charlie multiple times, where he died on scene. A package of fishing fillet knives and 2 sealed hatchets were found inside of Charlie's backpack. An autopsy found Charlie had methamphetamine in his bloodstream, which can cause confusion, anxiety, and hallucinations. Days before the shooting, Charlie was released from jail after serving a sentence for assaulting a hospital security guard with a knife. According to a Parole Board of Canada document, Charlie was from Nunavut, where he grew up in a community who suffered from intergenerational trauma from the residential and day school system. After Charlie's parents separated, Charlie grew up in multiple foster homes and youth jails in multiple communities that further disconnected him from his family and community. Charlie was also diagnosed with multiple learning disorders from his many years of trauma. The IIU closed by saying both officers were found in not committing a criminal offense in what's being called a tragic incident. 2 social media videos are raising concerns after they allegedly show a man being removed from a hospital into freezing temperatures. The Prince Albert Grand Council is now calling for answers. The videos circulated on social media over the weekend, showing a man lying face down in the snow and being escorted through the Victoria Hospital parking lot in Prince Albert by security. The Prince Albert Grand Council released a statement reminding the public that patient safety must always be the top priority. Grand Chief Brian Hardlott called the videos deeply troubling and said the duty to help those seeking health care does not end when situations become difficult. The statement says Hardlott expects the Saskatchewan Health Authority to assess whether security staff acted appropriately and if changes are needed. Senior PAGC officials will raise these concerns with the Health Authority leadership later this week. We now want to tell you about this week's new web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, do you think governments act quickly enough when children are at risk? This is regarding our recent story on the issues of child welfare system in Nunavut. You can answer yes, no, or unsure. Go to our website at aptnnews.ca to have your say. Nova Scotia's premier recently met with Mi'kmaq leadership regarding cannabis concerns. That story after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Montreal will be opening 5 housing projects for people experiencing homelessness or at risk of becoming homeless. The 5 projects will amount to more than 100 new units. The city, the province, the feds, and venture capital company Fonds de Solidarité FTQ are funding this initiative. In a press conference held on Monday, various homeless advocacy organizations announced they are helping to carry out this housing initiative, including Mission Old Brewery President James Hughes, who highlighted the growing issues of homelessness in Montreal. He says there are between 5,000 and 6,000 people experiencing homelessness in the city. Hughes says this project will help, adds that thousands or more units need to be made available. APTN News asked whether this housing project provides specific support for Indigenous clientele that are experiencing intergenerational trauma. Montreal City Councillor responsible for homelessness, Claude Pinard, could not confirm this.
We're proud today to announce 5 new housing projects. These units will allow our most vulnerable citizens to benefit from a safe house and embark on the path to rebuild their life. I am very proud to announce that Montreal will invest $6.5 million for these 5 new projects. I'm not sure we do have specific measures, but from my past work, if there's one population that needs the help is Indigenous people. The situations they live in Montreal is absolutely unacceptable, and we'll be working with the community organizations and the governments to remedy this.
The units are already under construction, with some set to be open next year. A Mi'kmaq organization that represents more than 60 cannabis retailers across the Atlantic strategized on how to deal with the Nova Scotia government's call for a crackdown on what they are calling illegal cannabis. APTN video journalist Angel Moore was at that meeting held this past weekend and brings us the latest.
About 60 members of the Mi'kmaq Rights Association, MRA, gathered at a hotel in Truro, Nova Scotia. They are owners of Mi'kmaq cannabis shops. Chris Gugu says the recent provincial directive to crack down on cannabis stores is not deterring shop owners.
We continue to stay open, and we're proud to put our treaties and our rights and our sovereignty to the front of all this fight, because this is our sovereignty we're talking about here and our inherent rights.
Gugu has a store in the Millbrook First Nation. He says the Mi'kmaq have a right to their own sovereign economy. The MRA offers support to over 60 cannabis operations in the Atlantic region. It will develop their own cannabis management plan.
We're going to stand united together, and we're going to support one another, and we're going to come up with our own governance structure and our own standards and procedures for how we're going to govern the cannabis industry within our own nation here, for MRA members, that is.
This comes after last week's provincial directive to police to crack down on cannabis stores that operate outside provincial legislation, calling it a public safety issue. Premier Tim Houston defended the action in a press conference last Friday.
I've talked to people in law enforcement have told me in this province that they've taken illegal cannabis from unregulated illegal dispensaries and tested it and found that it was laced with traces of fentanyl. So, you know, sometimes I hear, I don't buy from the government supply because I don't get the same buzz. Well, that's probably why.
Gugu says such comments incite racism. Meanwhile, the cannabis shops operate as usual. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Truro, Nova Scotia.
We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. And to read and watch our stories, go to aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Métis singer-songwriter Michelle Jolly is up next to talk about her new Christmas song, just in time for the holidays. That story after the break. Thanks for staying with us. St. John 0, Halifax showers in 7. Cartwright -8, La Grande River -14. 0 in Quebec City. Rain in Montreal at 3. 4 in Toronto and partly cloudy. North Bay flurries and -1. Clear skies in Thunder Bay at -9. Sioux Lookout -13. -18 in God's Lake. -20 in Puckatawagan. -11 in Winnipeg. Brandon -9. Showers in Regina at -1. Yorkton -12. -26 in Buffalo Narrows, -42 in Stony Rapids, -17 in Peace River, Fort Chipewyan, -21, 2 in Lethbridge, -2 in Calgary, Vancouver, rain in 6, Quesnel 1, 3 in Prince Rupert, -20 in Fort Nelson, -39 in Old Crow, -40 in Dawson, -22 in Fort Simpson, -20 in Wrigley. Sunny in Tuktoyaktuk, -22, Palatuk, -21. -34 in Baker Lake, Cambridge Bay, -24. And Arctic Bay, -28, Resolute, -30. Edmonton-based Métis singer-songwriter Michelle Jolly has teamed up with Cree hip-hop artist Young Bear for a new holiday single. It's called All I Want for Christmas, Dreams Come True. It celebrates the simple, joyful moments with loved ones. It's the first new music in a while for the celebrated vocalist. Dennis Ward spoke with Michelle Jolly earlier.
Michelle, thanks so much for being with us here on the show. As we mentioned in the intro, All I Want for Christmas, Dreams Come True is your first single in a little while. Why did you want your new single to be a Christmas song?
Well, in all honesty, I've been wanting to release this song for a while, but I have actually released a couple of songs with an organization called Gen 7 Path. So it's actually not my first release of 2025.
You also teamed up with Cree hip-hop artist Young Bear, not your first collaboration either. How did that collaboration come together?
Well, actually, I was kind of pitching my song to some music supervisors, and they were looking for like a hip-hop Christmas vibe. So I thought, you know what, let me revamp it and see what I can come up with. I knew Young Bear already, and I just knew he was going to write a really beautiful verse to it, which he did.
I really do actually like a little hip hop with my Christmas music. Is Christmas a special time for yourself?
Yes, I would say so. I grew up with a really large family, so we had huge family get-togethers, you know, lots of playing music, guitars and drums and singing. When I moved away at 17 and started kind of my music career, I was pretty much always, gigging or away for the Christmas holidays. And so, like, that's kind of the spirit that I want within this song is actually what Christmas actually means to me is, being with family.
Yeah, so many of us have to move away for work and don't always make it back home for the holidays. How's your family receiving the song?
Oh, they really love it. Yeah. My uncle is like, that's my new favorite Christmas song. So yeah, they're enjoying it for sure.
You've also recently become an ambassador for the Gord Downie and Chani Wenjack Fund. What role do you think music can play in the understanding and healing between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples?
Well, I think that, music is the universal language. On paper or just by ear, it's the one language that, brings people from all cultures together. So I think that's the power of music.
Well, Michelle, congrats on the new single and appreciate you joining us. Hopefully you'll knock Mariah Carey off the top of the charts.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be quite a Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis and Michelle. We are one more day closer to Christmas, and that means another day in our 12 Days of Languages. It's the APTN News version of the 12 Days of Christmas. Next, we go to Quebec to hear two languages, both the Innu and the French language in one, as we get closer to the holiday break.
Bonjour, mon nom est Sylvie Ambroise, je viens de la communauté de Ouachat-Makmali-Otenan, la nation Innu, dans l'est du Québec. Dans nos grandes festivités pendant Noël, on se réunissait autour, c'était le fun parce qu'on se réunissait autour du caribou, du lièvre, de la perdrix. C'est ce que je me souviens quand j'étais jeune. Beaucoup de viande de bois, on mangeait pas mal avec tout le monde. C'est ça que j'adorais, que maintenant c'est plus vraiment ça, mais bon, c'est vraiment la notion de rassemblement de toute la famille. C'était ça qui était intéressant pour les Noëls de mon enfance. Mon premier mot, c'est Noël. C'est Ni Pei Mianan. Ni Pei Mianan. Ni Pei Mianan. Autour de mon deuxième mot, ça va être Atik. Ça veut dire caribou. Atik. Atik, c'est Atik. Mon troisième mot, c'est le mot lièvre. C'est Wabush. 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 Je souhaite à toutes les communautés autochtones du Canada un bon, joyeux temps des fêtes.
And that's your daytime newscast for this Wednesday. We're back again in a few hours for your evening newscast. Please join us then. Kwana miigwech masicho. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next day.